Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to Law and Order Legacies. So I want to object, but I don't even remember what I'm objecting to, so let's go back. She asks him, do you have any ideas for addressing drug problems? Objection. Immaterial. Misleading the jury, assuming facts as evidence. I'm going to say immaterial.
Immaterial. The defendant is changing the subject.
Sustained. Please strike that last statement from
What's
the
funny
testimony.
is the game
New
has
York
never
City is not on trial here.
told us
Jenna Bauer lapsed back into
to
addiction,
use
unbeknownst
immaterial.
to you, although your caseworker visited her as recently as Christmas Day.
I'm afraid that's correct. In spite of our vigilance, in spite of intensive therapy,
So he just
siren call
committed
of crystal
perjury.
meth proved too much for her. And once she began using again, she quickly became a danger to her son.
How did she manage to pull the wool over your eyes?
It's one of the most insidious aspects of the syndrome. I've seen it many times. The addict puts up a false front of normalcy. A front that can fool even a trained observer.
Would I like to object? Yes.
Objection.
Does he have expert standing? Immaterial. I'll just withdraw this one.
Withdrawn.
One last question. Has this tragedy caused you to re-examine your practice?
Naturally, we're thoroughly reviewing our procedures. We exist to serve our clients. The death of one impoverishes us all.
Of course. Thank you, Dr. Montrose. Your witness, Mr. McCoy.
So unlike the previous cases where they were killers, it's certainly this guy's more likable by the jury, but I'm still winning.
Dr. Montrose.
So we're no longer getting tutorializations. Let's ask about the visitation guidelines. Let's not ask about his youth or his book. Let's ignore
State
those.
guidelines for social welfare agencies mandate one home visit per month at the very least.
You needn't lecture me. I'm well acquainted with state guidelines.
Do you follow them?
Yes, Mr. McCoy. We follow the state guidelines meticulously.
No,
Good
they
Shepherd
don't.
didn't have its own guidelines?
No.
Nope. Testified state guidelines don't apply to Good Shepherd. Caseworker admitted they make up the rules as they go along. Well, it's not this one. And I don't really want to go back and look. Caseworker admitted that the Good Shepherd makes up... We didn't even talk to the caseworker, really. Montrose testified that state guidelines don't apply to Good Shepherd. Which one of these should we pick? Let's take this one. We were wrong? Whatever. Let's now... That got us to where I think we need to do. Let's ask about the apartment.
You've heard Detective Curtis's account of what he found in Jenna Bauer's apartment, and you've seen the pictures.
Indeed I have. What can I say? Appalling. I had no idea until this very morning when my counsel showed me the pictures.
Is it plausible that he had no idea? Yes, it is plausible. Missed that one. And now I'm in the negative.
When did your caseworker last visit the Bauers?
She filed a visitation report Christmas Day.
About that report, did you notice any inconsistencies that might...
Objection. Prosecution is attempting to solicit testimony about a piece of evidence that has been ruled inadmissible.
Objection sustained. You should know better, Mr. McCoy.
I shouldn't know better. It's a video game. Found the red herring. But apparently that didn't count to any of that. Let's ask about his youth.
Tell me about your days in City Youth Home. What was it that soured you on the place? Bad food?
Mr. McCoy, unless you also grew up in an orphan asylum, I don't think you have authority to trivialize the experience.
And besides, it's immaterial. I object.
Me too.
I'm trying to establish a pattern.
And straining to do it. Objection sustained.
Found another red herring. Well, she read from his book, so that might work. But it won't. Let's just see what happens if we blow this completely.
You've stated that your work is your life.
Yes?
If that's so, where did you find the time to write and publicize a book?
Objection. Immaterial.
Sustained.
Where was he trying to go with this?
Like, everything is a red herring.
Your agency advocated for Jenna Bauer in her bid to regain custody of her son, Aaron. In retrospect, was this in Aaron's best interest?
Considering his fate, the answer has to be no. But hindsight is always 20/20.
At the time, you believed the opposite to be self-evident, right? Every mother deserves to retain the custody of her children?
We weighed the pros and
Pretty
cons of Jenna
sexist.
Bauer's case, and we came to the conclusion that she deserved a second chance. Perhaps if we'd had more facts at our disposal, we would have agreed with the city's decision.
I'd say no. This is probably the one we should go for, but it may be wrong.
In this case, the alternative was placing Aaron in City Youth Home. You simply didn't want him there. Dr. Montrose, have you ever signed off on moving a child from his parents' custody into the institutional foster care system?
No.
You're the expert, Dr. Montrose. Do you think it's possible for conditions to degenerate that rapidly in a mere 8 days?
It's possible, I suppose. But I have to admit, if I were an outside observer, I'd find it a difficult story to swallow. Indeed, if it weren't for my faith in my employee, Miss Schuyler, I'd be inclined to think it was a story.
Really? No further questions, Your Honor.
The jury is right on the fence. Trial part 38. It's skipping parts, clearly.
Defense calls Wanda Schuyler to the witness stand. I know this is difficult for you, Miss Schuyler, but I want you to recall for us the moment you stepped into Jenna Bauer's apartment on January 1st.
It was like stepping off a cliff, you know?
Because of your feelings
This
for Mrs.
girl
Bauer,
looks like she
because
might
you
be
cared about her so much?
objection. Leading. What's interesting is I think they've put in pictures in the background here of pictures of boats. Yeah, I think the social worker might have been a face model used in The Walking Dead.
Objection!
That's irrelevant. Leading.
Leading?
Sustained.
Would you say you had a personal connection with Aaron Bauer?
I hate the
Yes,
blurry
I
faces
did.
in the background.
Aaron, he was a great kid. Talented, you know. He wanted to be a comic
Is
book
her
artist when he
name
grew up.
Wanda Schuyler?
He and I had a little private game where he pretended I was a superhero.
But he didn't say or do anything in the last few months to indicate his home life was deteriorating?
No, you know how boys can be at his age. Stoic. He probably thought it would be unmanly or disloyal to tattle on his mom.
Would you like to object? Let's see, what can we object to?
Objection!
No expert standing, speculation.
The witness is speculating about the victim's motivations.
Sustained. Please confine yourself to your own impressions.
How long have you been employed with Good Shepherd, Miss Schuyler?
It'll be 3 years in April.
And in that time, has Dr. Montrose ever encouraged you to be negligent in your duties?
Not at all, no. Dr. Montrose is an inspiration. He knows firsthand how broken the system is, and he's completely passionate about reforming it. It's
And yet it
energizing.
seems like he's part of the
really
broken
wish-
system.
I just wish this hadn't happened to him. I mean, to all of us.
Of course. We all do. Your witness.
Is she sleeping with him? Is that it? I've noticed the mouse doesn't want to show up a lot now.
Miss Schuyler, Dr. Montrose has testified that you visited the Bowers in their apartment on Christmas Day. At that time, did you find any indications that Jenna Bauer had lapsed back into her addiction to crystal meth?
I didn't see any. I never made that visit. I don't have an excuse. I simply failed to do my job, and then I faked the report after the fact to cover up. I'm sorry, Dr. Montrose.
That's not what you said at the deposition. Are you changing your testimony, Miss Schuyler?
I guess so.
Were you briefed about this? Your Honor, prosecution was unprepared for this development. We petitioned the court for a continuance.
Petition granted. We will resume trial next week.
The case is just taking a turn for the worse. The jury doesn't know what to make of Wanda Schuyler's testimony. To win it over, you need to convince the witness to change sides.
I've been at the bar 30 years, Miss Jameson, but I don't think I've ever witnessed such a blatantly unethical maneuver. Instructing a witness to change her testimony without altering the deposition.
You have no grounds for accusing me of complicity.
You'd better hope I don't find any. Now, why are you protecting Dr. Montrose?
Don't let yourself be intimidated, Miss Schuyler. You don't have to answer anything.
No, but you do have to go to jail if you're found guilty of falsifying documents.
We need you to come clean. Please.
Let's see. Should we appeal to self-interest? Appeal to principles? Appeal to Aaron's memory? Feels like any one of these would work.
If you're telling the truth about forging that report, then you must have lied when you said you cared about Aaron.
That's not true. I did care. We had a bond.
Do I believe her? Yes, I do, because we saw physical evidence to back it up. He drew a comic of her. Wonder Woman drawing found in Aaron's bag.
Why would you neglect your duties towards someone you care about?
New topics. Wonder Woman.
You mentioned on the stand something about a private game between you and Aaron.
It was just a silly joke. It didn't mean anything.
It did to him, I think.
You were his hero, but you failed.
You have to understand.
Wanda, be quiet.
I can't. You know I believe in Dr. Montrose, but I just can't. You'd better go.
I represent you.
She shouldn't be representing both of them. That's an unethical thing that could get her disbarred easily.
What's the real story?
Let's see. What's the real story? Click continue and let's hear it. I think
Miss
I've got it
Schuyler,
in the bag
I hold
now.
here your personal copy of a visitation report dated December 25th, signed by you and Dr. Montrose.
So he signed it, but we lost a lot of points.
Did you write this report?
No,
Who did?
Dr. Montrose.
But this is your signature.
Yes.
New topics revealed. When did you sign? Let's ask that question. It's probably pointless.
When did you sign this document?
January 2nd.
The day after you discovered Aaron Bauer was dead.
Uh-huh.
If you didn't write this report, why did you put your name on it?
He said Dr. Montrose told me the city wanted to use the Bauer tragedy as a pretext for legal action, taking over the agency. Putting my name on that document was the only way to save it.
Does her story fit with the evidence? I'm gonna say yes. We only have 2 strikes now. This is what the right answer is, I'm sure. What's interesting is the justice statue with the scales. Looks like it's custom art instead of just some stock art that you probably could find. When was your last visit?
When did you last visit Jenna and Aaron Bauer?
Last spring? 8 months ago.
Did something happen relevant last spring? 8 months ago. Oh, I'm just gonna say no. And take the strike. Not even bother to
Just
look it up.
after Dr. Montrose's book was published.
Oh.
Yes, that's when things started getting really crazy for all of us. We were flooded with new clients. There was no way we could keep up with them. And then one day, Dr. Montrose called us into his office and told us about his new early graduation program.
Early graduation program.
Tell us about Dr. Montrose's early
That's the
graduation
audio
program.
Glitching
He
again?
said he determined that a number of our clients no longer needed our services.
According to state guidelines.
No, according to his own guidelines. He called them his early graduates. He mailed each of them a certificate and a one-time payment of $1,000 in exchange for...
In exchange for them keeping quiet.
Yes.
Your witness.
Yeah, there was one thing. There was one thing we couldn't click on, and I am down on the plea deal, so I probably should just take it and finish the game. But let's take it to the end.
My fate is immaterial, Mr. McCoy. My sole concern is to keep the reform movement from falling apart.
Very noble. What are you proposing?
Dr. Montrose pleads to negligence and serves a 12-month probation. He agrees to step aside and allow an acting director to run Good Shepherd for the length of the term.
Oh, what an example of self-sacrifice that is. I've got a better idea, Dr. Montrose.
We don't even know what we're going. We're going for gross negligence, so we can make this offer and see if they'll take it.
Gross negligence, 4 years, and a $10,000 fine for falsifying documents. You step away from Good Shepherd permanently. The courts will appoint the next director.
And allow my life's work to be undone by a bunch of court-appointed hacks? No chance.
Looks like we're fighting this one to the end. See you in court, McCoy.
I've played so badly. This'll be interesting.
Welcome back to the stand, Dr. Montrose. Perhaps this time we can get to the truth.
I don't think I would like this guy as a prosecutor. Honestly, I would let the lady do all the talking.
Wanda Schuyler has made some remarkable assertions. Would you care to revise any of your previous statements in the light of her testimony?
I guess I can't take any
Clearly, I
more
was
strikes for
mistaken
mistake.
in claiming that Good Shepherd did everything it could to avert this tragedy. The caseworker assigned to the Bowers was negligent. Criminally negligent.
Were you aware of her negligence? Did you in fact order her to stop making home visits?
Self-serving lies. I'm guilty of trusting in her professionalism, nothing else. I'm a very busy man, Mr. McCoy. I don't get personally involved in every case.
Is that consistent with his testimony? No. This one is the right one.
Allow me to read from the transcript. Counsel for the defense. Were you personally involved in the case of Aaron Bauer? Defendant. I involved myself, personally, in every one of my cases.
Well, yes, I said that, but there's only so much of me to go around.
Wanda Schuyler mentioned an early graduation program. Dr. Montrose, did you issue payouts to your clients, then drop them from your active client list without ever informing Child Protective Services?
Of course not. That's a complete fabrication.
Yes, I can. But I'm still gonna lose here. Elijah, the prophet, testified undergraduated. Visitation, the $1,000 receipt found in the Bowers apartment is the evidence. But I still don't know if that's enough.
Your Honor, I would like
Or
to submit People's Exhibit
neutral.
B into evidence.
Wow.
A receipt for a $1,000 check issued
Is this
to
gonna
Jenna
be
Bauer
enough
by
to
the
win?
Defendant's holding company, New Directions.
Objection. Immaterial. New Directions is a completely different and unconnected corporate entity. If they issued a check to Jenna Bauer, that has no bearing on Dr. Montrose's culpability.
Can I refute this? Sure, but how? Let's go yes. Let's see, New Directions now owns Good Shepherd. They are connected. Caseworker said New Directions is a Good Shepherd pilot program. Montrose mistakenly referred to Good Shepherd as New Directions. Ooh, and we can't really afford to make a mistake here, so we do have to go back. Let's see. Back all the way here. Good Shepherd is now entirely administered through Dr. Montrose's holding company, New Directions. That was the one.
Hardly immaterial, Your Honor.
Agreed. Objection overruled.
So, did you send Mrs. Bauer a $1,000 check last April, Dr. Montrose? Or is that also a complete fabrication?
I may have done so.
You don't remember?
I believe I did.
What prompted you? Charity?
Of course. The Bowers were very poor. They needed help.
Yes, they did. But you gave them cash.
The jury is still on the fence, though, so we may just lose.
Dr. Montrose has devoted his life to helping those who have been failed by the system. But some, sadly, are beyond help. And sometimes a good agency can be undone by the actions of one dishonest employee. If Wanda Schuyler hadn't failed to discharge her duties, and then compounded her failure with lies, might Good Shepherd have been able to save Jenna and Aaron Bauer? We'll never know. It's a bitter irony that a champion of reform should fail to spot the corruption among his own staff. He can be faulted, perhaps, for being too trusting, too optimistic about human nature. Surely this is no crime. But if my client is convicted of these charges, if he's sent to jail and his reform movement is crushed by the powers that be, it will be more than a crime. It will be an outrage.
His reform movement is garbage. It doesn't work. It's corrupt. It's not showing us the bars at the top of this either. So this is almost a coin flip. And it feels very much like this episode is specifically designed to force. Let's see. Montrose's Jindid blinded him. Topics. He abandoned his clients. His agenda blinded him. Like, we can't really even prove that. Beware reformers. Maybe.
Dr. Montrose made his name
Oh,
arguing
it finally
that our
showed
welfare
the bar.
system treats its clients like numbers. He proposed to treat them with dignity as individuals. His message resonated with millions, and he became famous. But the demands of celebrity caused him to neglect his own principles. In the end, his own clients were reduced to numbers. Numbers on checks.
So we have a lot of work to do here. And let's see. Panicked and covered his tracks. Oh, his agenda blinded him. Yeah, we also need to point out that he faked documents.
The deaths of Aaron and Jenna Bauer left Dr. Montrose with a terrible decision to make. He could acknowledge his agency's mistake, but this would compromise his moral authority as a public advocate. Or he could cover up the evidence of his neglect and perhaps preserve his reputation at the expense of his integrity. Dr. Montrose chose the less noble expedient.
There you go. So we're just a tiny little sliver here. And his agenda blinded him. I don't think these two should be ones we should choose.
Children belong with their parents. This is a sentiment that resonates with us, and we can be grateful that Dr. Montrose's advocacy has helped push our welfare system to take the claims of parents more seriously. But not every individual case conforms to the ideal. In the case of Jenna and Aaron Bauer, the defendant's ideals blinded him to the realities of the case and led him to make a serious error. What causes people to commit crimes of gross negligence? I've run across many motives in my day. Resentment, greed, indifference, callousness. Dr. Montrose is motivated to make the world a better place. His good intentions, it seems, have blinded him to the evil he has perpetrated. That's what makes him a tragic figure and a dangerous one. And that's why it's so imperative that justice be done.
Have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of gross negligence, we find the defendant, Stephen Montrose, guilty as charged. In the case of manslaughter...
Another victory for truth and justice.
Wow, they didn't even say.
Good Shepherd will go into receivership, and before long it'll be just another child welfare agency.
Montrose was a fraud, Jack. He got what he deserves.
But does his movement deserve to die? How many parents are going to lose their kids as a result of this decision?
Hey, it's not our job to second guess. Our job is to call him as we seize him, and trust that it'll all work out in the end.
And this is 1999, so our decision here might actually affect something in the future.
Allison, you look great.
I feel great. I've even been running again. Where's Detective Curtis?
His daughter's birthday tonight. So, I'm guessing your recovery is going better than the last time we talked.
Last time we talked, I was in a coma. I've been seeing a
So,
hypnotherapist.
this must be
Anything
a
jog
character
your
from the
memory?
TV show.
Oh, sorry, that was terrible.
No. I do remember running with Harrison. The orange overhead lamps and the trees. But that's it. Nothing after. I'm sorry.
Don't be. Trauma like this, there's often memory loss.
I still miss him, though.
Look at the flag in the background.
Great. His father's been taking care of all the bills. And, of course, he's pleased as punch.
The
about
U.S.
his new
flag has
grandson.
never looked like
They're
that.
calling him Brendan.
Never.
We sort of wondered if the surprise grandbaby might be a problem.
Not at all. So we weren't married.
So
We
they
were in
must
high
have
school.
hired some
Things like this teach you
animator in
stuff
like
doesn't matter. Grandpa Bedford
deep
loves that boy to death.
South Korea or
Any
something.
more
Somebody that
thoughts on who would
wouldn't have
wanted to
even
kill
bothered to
Harrison?
look up what an
No,
American flag looked like.
everyone loved
Somebody
him.
really, really
You really
cheap.
think someone targeted him? In the papers, they just call it a thrill kill.
Yeah, don't believe everything you read.
I don't even know what this
Thanks for
conversation
everything,
has to do
Detective.
with anything.
I'm sorry I can't help more.
Because this is not 1999. And it's just kind of leading up to, I imagine, something later. Again, nobody should be proud of their work here, in my opinion. We'll just skip the credits. I think I'm going to eventually just decide to start skipping credits on all games. But particularly episodic games. Like, it's unfair on the player to ask them to watch 6 separate credits because you decided to make your game a DLC experience that required you to pre-order to actually play the whole thing. So, Nobody's Child was pretty awful. We offered a plea, which I guess the only time you don't offer a plea is when you say no deal immediately, and we still succeeded, and I'm surprised that happened. Going forward, there's a pretty good chance we're gonna fail one of these. Like, it seems almost certainly that that's the case. And if I was to guess, this is probably that girl we just saw, and this is probably somebody else that we've already seen, and so we could potentially already figure it out. Like, but in the meantime, we have to do this, and this is gonna take way too long. And this one's gonna take way too long. And this one's gonna take way too long. And, I'm so tired of this game. I could see easily people dropping out even by episode 3. And that is inherently, I guess, a problem with all games. Most players don't make it to the end of games. Sad statement, but true. Or at least a significant portion of them don't, if not most. And if I was just playing this for myself, I would easily have already checked out. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.